Hey, Terensu fans, it's time for another episode of Terensu Talks, or Terensu's Game Cabinet Side Chats. So, I wanted to give my thoughts on the recently announced Castlevania series announced for Netflix. This thing kind of just caught me off guard, and I will be very surprised if the thing actually makes it. A long time ago, they were talking about this Castlevania movie that was coming out, and it was supposed to be, this big thing, and it was going to be great, and it just kind of got caught in development hell, and then the writer changed and people backed off the project, and it just never happened. Well, now they've come out and said that there is a Castlevania. It's going to be an animated series, I think, coming to Netflix later this year. My thoughts. First off, I would be excited, except being 28 years old. I've seen plenty of game to movies and movies to games and movies to series and games to, you get the picture. I've seen this thing for 28 years. I've seen people attempt to do various adaptations of gaming material to the little screen and the big screen and whatever, with varying degrees of success. Most of the time, not very good. You have a few exceptions, of course, like GoldenEye on the N64. That's based off a movie, but it's actually very well done. And I may talk a little bit about why I think GoldenEye is the exception and why games like it are the exception. But anyway, Castlevania as a series, while it seems like it would be awesome, it worries me that it will be hard to bring that story to justice because Castlevania, I don't know, sometimes its story takes itself very seriously and then sometimes it does not. It just depends on which Castlevania game you're playing. Was IGA involved with it? That's Koji Iragashi, of course. Who made it? What's its place in the storyline? Who the artist was, and was Mikuru Yamane doing the music? A Castlevania series is long. The lore to the original series is bloated, and I just think it would be so hard to pick a good place in the story to pick this up and adapt it with, because so many people think of so many different Belmonts and so many different games when they think of Castlevania. My personal favorite are the two N64 games, which a lot of people hate. And then some people are diehard 2D Castlevania purists, all about Simon and Trevor Belmont. And then some people only love the Metroidvania games that IGA did with like Symphony of the Night and Portrait of Ruin and all those guys. I love those games too. I think they're great. I really like the entire series, but just Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness are my favorites. But I mean, where do you go? Where do you start from? There's so much. I am glad to see that it's focusing on the original series and not Lords of Shadow. Don't get me wrong, I like Lords of Shadow, but I just think the original lore has so much more content to draw from. That will be their big challenge, is basically taking this thing and making it into something that represents the series and it's somewhat goofy yet not themes. I feel like most game to series or movie productions are hampered by like Hollywood focus group type stuff. They just, without playing the game, you don't really understand it. Very rarely do we have people who play the entire series and completely understand the lore and and are in the position to make some sort of other medium like a TV series or a movie series. A guy named Adi Shankar, I guess that's how you pronounce that, is the series producer behind this. I'm just reading an article IGN posted a day or so ago about the series. It's supposed to be rated R. It's going to be told like Game of Thrones, which, could be good. I think it's such a delicate balance when you try to adapt a video game to a movie or a series, especially because, video games, they're very much about player agency, and it's very much about keeping the player occupied, right? So, in the games, you are a Belmont or, whoever, Alucard, and you're going from place to place, doing thing after thing, and there are enemies for you to fight and challenges for you to face. This is why movie games don't work very well, because you see, like, Star Wars is an awesome movie. So you would think that there would be an awesome game about Luke Skywalker going through the progression of the movie. And there isn't really one. I mean, you've got the Super Star Wars series and a few other things, and there are some good, Star Wars games, but they're kind of their own thing. As far as just a mainline movie, it's so hard to make a good quality game out of that because if you just follow the movie completely, movies are very bing bang boom. They're very streamlined, they're very to the point. There isn't a point where you can like pause the movie and look around settings and stuff like you do in video games. A movie takes you on a brief 1 to 2 hour, 3 4 hour roller coaster ride, depending on the movie and the series, and that's the end. Whereas a game, while it may have a definitive beginning and end, there's all the stuff in the middle, and between the high points, a movie is essentially a bunch of high points that are shown to you, right? Like Luke did other stuff while he was traveling from planet to planet and in between fights, but the movie shows you the high points. That's why it's interesting. In the game, you know, you have to show these high points, but at the same time, there has to be interspersed stuff in the in between of these high points for the player to do. So that's why movie games are so hard to do, and you have to introduce like new levels and other things, and it's kind of this very delicate balance of staying too true to the source material, and the game just becomes a roller coaster ride, and there's not a lot to do, versus just completely doing spin-off territory, in which case you're not enough like the movie to elicit those same feelings that you got from watching the movie. And you want to feel like you're playing the movie, but that's so hard to do. And that's why I think GoldenEye 64 is such a rare exception. They gave James Bond lots of stuff to do while staying relatively very close to the movie's plot, right? You had all these stages with these guards for you to fight. It just translated very well, and you still felt like you were in the movie, albeit a brief version of it. But it's still to this day one of the best movie to video game adaptations. You know, James Bond has it kind of easy because it lends itself to an FPS very well, which is I feel like an easier roller coaster ride to put someone on is an FPS type thing. So anyway, back to Castlevania. According to IGN's article, he said it's going to be like Game of Thrones. He said it's going to be very mature, rated R, and it's supposed to follow, quote, the last surviving member of the disgraced Belmont clan trying to save Eastern Europe from extinction at the hands of Vlad Dracula Tepe himself. So, it doesn't just say like, come out and say it's Simon Belmont or it's Trevor Belmont, but I believe he does say in the same article that the show is an adaptation of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, which has a lot of interesting characters and a lot of neat stuff. And I think the good decision going with that one is it's a game that pretty much everybody who plays Castlevania respects. It's also got a cast of rich characters, and it also, because of the technology it came out on, we don't really know just a whole lot about these characters and their personal lives and their personal flaws. More so Alucard because he went on to star in his own game. But, we don't know just a whole lot about Trevor Belmont other than what we learned in Curse of Darkness. So it's very interesting that they've chosen that route. I think it'll be interesting to see Trevor and Sypha and Grant and Alucard. Those characters within themselves all have interesting plot lines. At the time, I believe Trevor Belmont was disgraced, and the people basically sought him out and was like, look, we're sorry, you got to go kill this Dracula guy for us before he takes over the world. And, Sypha, whatever, she did the whole thing where she pretended to be a man so people would respect her and she could fight evil and all that. You've got Grant, who is controlled by Dracula, as well as Alucard, who, has always fought against his father, but he feels this deep-seated regret in his life that, his mother's dead, killed by humans that she loved and that he fights to protect. And yet to do this, he must kill his own father, continually fighting his own father. He hates that. So there's a lot of interesting characters in that. It'll be good to see what goes on. I don't think we have any animation stills or anything, so I'm not sure what the quality, I'm not sure what this is going to look like. Is it going to be anime? Is it going to be Western style cartoon? Just no telling. I don't know what it's going to look like. Either way, I am looking very much forward to seeing it and seeing what it's like. Hopefully it's good. I reluctantly am excited for it. I will say reluctantly just because I know how these things usually turn out. Things I would like to see in it. I want to see a lot of characterization of characters that we didn't know a whole lot about. I want to see it be very faithful to the game storyline. I don't want to see a lot of that stupid decision Hollywood focus group type stuff. And I'll never understand how that stuff works because it must be making money somewhere or they wouldn't keep doing stupid focus group plotline stuff into movies. But just to the fans who love it the much, it's always so terrible. So I hope there's not a lot of Hollywood style interference. I hope that the cast has taken time to at least play Dracula's Curse and that they've looked at all the other games and that they understand, at best, a brief surmising of the series lore and what's important to the series, who Dracula is, where he came from in the series. I hope they pay very close attention to all of that. Um, it does kind of worry me that it's like the last Belmont. Hopefully they will include Simon and throw reference back to even the first Belmont, Leon. Hopefully they take all that into account. Hopefully they just don't make it this, oh, he's a Belmont and he's got all these other family members, but it's not people from the game series because I think that's what people want to see. They want to see Trevor, they want to see Simon Belmont, they want to see Alucard, they want to see Death as he appears in the Castlevania series. They want to see these characters brought to life. And the best way to do that, I think, is to learn about these characters, find out who they are, and then take them and then add your own liberties and spin on it, but not too much. When you're adapting characters from an NES game, you have a very limited pool of lore that you can pull from within their games, but you can take a broader look at the rest of the series and say, who are these Belmonts? Who are these characters? How do they fit into the Castlevania series lore? What would they be like in the context of their adventure? What would they what would they do? What would they say? How would they react to these situations? What are their motivations and goals for taking up arms against the Count, as it were? But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Castlevania animated series, which is soon coming to Netflix. I'll post a link down below to the IGN article. You can take a look at it. This isn't the first tidbit about this series. It was first announced a few weeks ago. I'm just late getting on the series between work and tech and videos and all the other fun stuff I've been doing. But anyway, this is Terensu signing off. Thanks for listening.